Hey everybody, what's happening? This is Green Bean. Welcome to episode 45 of Greenbean's Jets Pod. I am happy to have you here. It's been an interesting week. Lots of feelings around Jetnation. You can't help it. I know. Everybody's feeling one way or the other. There's a slice of us right down the middle. And we'll get into all sorts of things. We're going to talk about the offense, the defense. We're going to get into Mike White, Josh Johnson, Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson. We're even going to talk about some of the defense today. Before we do any of that, we're going to remind you that we have an awesome contest going on right here. All you have to do to be entered is subscribe right to this channel. Go over to Full-Time Coaster Tour on YouTube as well. Subscribe there, and you're in. If you'd like an extra entry, all you have to do is go to Greenbeanjetsfan on Instagram and follow me there as well. That will effectively give you 2 entries. And the way that works is that 3 winners will be drawn when I hit 5,000 subs, which is not that far away. We're cruising, man. So when I hit 5,000 subs, 2 winners will get a t-shirt of their choice from the GreenbeanJetsfan.com merch store. And 1 will also get that t-shirt, but will also get the Manscaped Ultra Smooth package from Manscaped. Imagine that. And I'll throw in some stickers and all kinds of fun stuff for the grand prize earners as well. So that is going to be great. Now, the first thing we got on the docket today is we want to talk about Marcus Maye. He is our 3rd Achilles tear this season. I mean, dude, sometimes you go like a decade without having an Achilles tear. Remember when Vinny Testaverde tore his Achilles? And it was like, we thought it was potentially career ending. You know, there's been a lot of advancements since then, thankfully. But I haven't even heard of it before. It was like, what? Achilles tear? What? I don't even get it. So now we have 3 in 1 year. Now those guys are Carl Lawson, Jamie Sherwood, the rookie linebacker who was starting to come out for us a little bit more. And now we have Marcus Maye. And this is a sad one for me. Because even though I haven't been happy with the Marcus Maye camp, like the truth and just the solid foundation of everything is Marcus Maye was a 2nd round pick from an organization that very few of their picks were worth anything. Not that we didn't root for them, we did, but they were worth very little, and even less are still here. There's almost none. I think there's 6. 6 of them here, including Marcus Maye, maybe 7, something like that. Over the last 5 years of drafting, we have 6 or 7 players, and Marcus Maye, arguably the best of all of them, is gone. And it's like, look, he's been a good player for us. The first couple years were a bit rocky with injury. The last few years, he has been solid. Now, I don't think he's so solid that Joe Douglas should have caved to his demands on being one of the higher paid safeties in the league and all that. At the same time, he's been a good player. He's been a good soldier. He's been a good leader, and he's been effective at many times for us on the field. So it's sad to see this, but I want to talk about, with hindsight, I want to look back and just briefly discuss the scenario that we were all in. And maybe we can use this knowledge when we're looking at scenarios in the future. You know, as we consider some of the moves by our organization, some of the players that we're discussing and all that, you can look at this stuff. There is a sound way to do things. There is. Now, not that we know what the hell it is because we haven't done things in a sound fashion for a long time. Even our successful teams, let's say the Mike Tannenbaum era, right? During he had Mangini and he had the Rex Ryan teams. Now, Mike Tannenbaum was able to get together some really good teams. The 2009, 2010 teams were all under Mike Tannenbaum. I mean, you can put a lot of credit on Mangini and his personal attention to detail, and most of the guys he brought in were studs. But it was during Mike Tannenbaum. But so even though we were successful at that time, you can't say that Mike Tannenbaum was doing things in a sound fashion. He was throwing caution to the wind. Woo-hoo! What do you need to come here? Oh, 3 picks and 10 million? Done. Let's go. Get in here. That's how he was. You look at the Chris Jenkins trade. You look at all the draft picks, trading up for Revis, trading up for Keller, all that sort of stuff. He wanted who he wanted, and there were some drafts that we were left with 3 draft picks. That's it, because he was doing what he had to do. Now, it worked to an extent, but then it all came crashing down, which is when he got fired, and Idzik had to clean it all up, and the Idzik 12, and blah, blah, blah. And we've not done things in a sound fashion for a long time, even when we were successful. Now we get this guy, Joe Douglas, and Jets fans are used to paying. We're used to paying that, what a lot of people label as the jet tax. Hey, man, if you got to give an extra $1 million a year, $2 million a year to get a guy that's worth a damn in here, then you do it. And we've been doing that a long time. But what happens when we get those guys? Most of those guys are useless here. They don't come and offer the impact that we want them to. So we look at this situation with Jamal Adams and Marcus May, and they're like a package deal. We picked them in the same draft. Jamal Adams was the first round safety. Marcus May was a second round safety. That's what's called doubling down. You know what I mean? That's doubling down, man. You shouldn't have done the first one, but you know what? I'm going balls to the wall. I'm going in, and I'm doing it again. And I took another safety with the second round pick. And he has been one of the rare second round picks to work out. Marcus May, that is. So when you get into a situation where you have a GM who's a new GM, right? He's a new GM. He's been in the business a long time, all very respected, blah, 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 all that stuff. But the truth is, he's a new GM being faced with Jamal Adams and all of his stuff. And then on the heels of that, short time later, the Marcus May agent stuff. Now, when you look at the trade for Jamal Adams, I can recall, believe me, I'm on Jetnation all the time, on Jet's Twitter, making videos, all that stuff. There was a huge contingent of Jets fans that just hated that. They hated the trade. The way it was looked at was, we have one player, maybe Sam Darnold, but really, one player that he was already an all-pro and that could have been considered great at his position. And this GM that we got trades him away. And yay, draft picks are going to help us 4 years in the future, kind of a thing. Because you got to give time for the picks to settle and become something. And so we're talking about making the team worse for a benefit in 3 or 4 years. And a lot of people didn't like that. But very few will argue now that the choice to trade Jamal Adams was a bad move. Okay, we already got AVT out of it, and we still have another first-round pick this year, and that's the way that one works. So we have a pretty damn good left guard, and one of the better that we've had since maybe, look, we had guys like Brandon Moore and all that, but maybe since Randy Thomas, I would say. AVT looks every bit the part, so we're great with that, and we still have a first-round pick this year, and it just so happens that the Seahawks aren't as good as traditionally speaking, so we might get lucky, and that could be one of those very, very rare top 15 type of Seattle Seahawk picks, and we get it, so that's good. Now, when you look at Marcus May, a lot of people are in his corner. And generally speaking, I'm on the player's side too. When it comes down to just whether or not they should make their money, I'm usually on their side. I think the players have gotten screwed over for many, many years, man. Going back forever. Like I look at, how the NFL and their owners treated players for a long, long time. And I'm happy that they get to have a say in matters, how they have value. They have some power and some say. And I like that. But there's a sound way to do things. Now, when we look at Marcus May's situation, he was under the franchise tag, which he signed, and we're able to franchise him really 3 years, but 2 years is realistic. The third year is absurd, so nobody gives anybody a third franchise tag, because if you're going to do that, you might as well sign him, and it's and all that. So we had him at $10.6 million and then $12.3 million maybe for the next year, so that's just about $23 million for 2 years, none guaranteed except for the first year. So the $10 million is guaranteed, the rest of it's not, but I still, generally speaking, own your rights. So if we're going to make a long-term deal, I got to get some benefit because I already have you for 2 years at 23 with nothing guaranteed. I'm willing to give you, and we heard his agent say 20% less. So we look at that, and let's say it's $8 million. So I'm ready to give you $8 million a year for 3 years. That's $24 million. and I'm going to give you 20 million guaranteed. Okay, so 20 million's guaranteed, and you're potentially could reach up to 24 with blah, 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 blah. So his agent basically made a huge deal, threw Joe Douglas under the bus, and went and did that article with whoever said Joe Douglas is the worst general manager in the NFL. I don't trust him, and all that sort of stuff. Then when Marcus May got injured, he came out and said, oh, he'll be ready for the trade deadline, all this sort of stuff. All the while holding back a DUI thing for Marcus May, hoping to get all this done. Now, look, I would like to keep Marcus May. I never felt otherwise. But at 12, 15, whatever million he wanted, I thought it was silly. There's a sound way to do things, and Joe Douglas has his value. Now, let me ask you guys, after my short little history lesson, who do you think made a better move? I'm doing this. I'm over here. You can't see me. Who do you think made a better move? You have Eric Burkhart, Marcus May's agent, and Marcus May, who hired him and never stopped him from being the asshole that he was. And then you got Joe Douglas, who just stayed where he was. Hey, this is what I'm willing to offer. I'd like to keep you. Who do you think made a better decision there? Now that Marcus May is gone for the season. Isn't it a shame? I would have to say Joe Douglas made a better move. If he would have signed that, let's say it was 20% less, if they would have signed that 3 years for 20 or, for 24 million, 20 million, that's just an example, right? But with more guarantees, he might have had 16, let's say 16 million was guaranteed. He might have had $16 million guaranteed instead of the 10 million that he has now. And who knows what the hell's going to happen. He's a 30-year-old safety who has the DUI suspension, whatever that is, coming up. He has numerous injuries last year, injuries in his past. He's probably going to end up signing for something around vet minimum, 1 million, 3 million, prove it deal kind of a thing. And that's a shame, man. You have to have some limits to what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. It's just like, hey, man, this is where I sit. If you want to do that, then that's great. If you don't, then here's what it's going to look like. And then you deal with the repercussions. I'm fine over here. And I don't think Eric Burkhart is going to suffer anything from this. He's going to move on and do whatever he does. Marcus May is the one who suffered, and his agent has a major failure and, dare I say, negligence on his hand for taking care of his client, who he could have advised significantly better and worked with Joe Douglas instead of being this outward just shit thrower, man. And here we are with the greatest fear of anybody who doesn't have guarantees. This is exactly why NFL players want guarantees. The greatest fear happened. It's not a twisted ankle. It's not a torn finger. You know what I mean? Something that'll knock you out a few weeks, but you're going to be fine. This is a torn Achilles. And he's out for the year, probably, what do they say, 11 months? I saw somewhere 9 to 11 months rehab and everything else after the surgery. Who knows what? And now Marcus May's future is up in the air. And even though he's outwardly being very, spiritual, supportive, positive, that's all great. And I wish him well. The truth is, he's torn up. He has to be. This is the worst case scenario, man. So I'm really pissed at Eric Burkhart. I think Eric Burkhart, if you ever hear this, which you won't, but if you do, you should know that. We've been saying you are at fault the entire time. And you screwed your client because of whatever bullshit ideas you have about right and wrong. You should have taken the guarantees, looking at your current situation, and moved forward with some protections for your client. You don't care because you're not the one that it matters for. You either make more or you move on and go somewhere else. Marcus May, this is his one opportunity to do so. And in my opinion, you screwed him. And Jets fans, I don't know where this leaves us at the safety position. You hate to talk about things like that when there's a guy like Marcus May who, even with the DUI shit, you can't say anything really bad about the guy. I mean, he's been a good dude, right? Team player, all that jazz. Good for the young guys, plays hard. He's not as good as maybe he thinks he is. And some Jets fans, in my opinion, overvalue him. But it just plain sucks. So now we have a situation where our safety position has been decimated. We obviously lost LaMarcus Joyner. We lost Marcus May already for this season for 4 games or whatever it was, 3-4 games. Now we lost him again for the rest of the year. We have other injuries. We have all kinds of guys in and out. It's like we're signing guys, playing them, cutting them. There's all kinds of stuff like that going on with our safeties. Ashton Davis came in. He did look better in the Colts game than he did against the Bengals, but he still has a ways to go. He's not exactly making us feel confident in what he's got going on, but upward, man. So I'm willing to give him some time. At the same time, we need help back there, and I'm hoping maybe Lamar Jackson on our practice squad, he was an undrafted free agent cornerback 2 years ago. Maybe he can fill in at safety. They did have him listed as a third safety in training camp. So maybe that's what they got going on with him. That would be really neat if he could come in and fill that role. But it's sad, man, and I feel bad for Marcus May. And during a game where our defense was having major struggles, it's just unfortunate to see him go down like that. I'm sure you've seen the video by now of how it happened. If you haven't, just Google Marcus May Achilles tear or YouTube it. You'll see it. He has that exact thing when guys' Achilles break, they say it feels like somebody kicked him in the leg, and he looks back to see who's there. It's crazy. It's just it's so textbook, and then he couldn't stand on it, and it's done, man. It's over. So Marcus May's last play as a Jet may have happened already, and who knows? Maybe he sits down with JD and they work out something like, all right, man, look, I'll give you a 1 year, prove it, whatever. I don't know. Maybe he stays with us, but I don't know. I think he might want to wash his hands of the whole thing. I don't think we're going to use the franchise tag on him. That's reserved for probably Mike White now, which will be a good segue into the next situation. Guys, Mike Lafleur was absolutely on the hot seat for the first 5 weeks of the season, 6 weeks, right? I'm telling you, right here, I'm just going to speak for myself. I was unconvinced that Mike Lafleur knew what he was doing in any capacity. I said, sure, fine. He's an offensive mind. Kyle Shanahan wouldn't have kept him around for 6 years on 3 teams if he didn't know what he was talking about. So he did. Clearly, he's got the chops as far as intelligence goes. But I don't know if he'll ever put it together on the field because I didn't like the way things were looking, right? I still don't like all the play calls. I think he's still got a ways to go. I do. One example is Tyler Kroft and Griffin out wide. I don't like it. I didn't like it from the first time I saw it, and now Tyler Kroft is hurt, making a great play out of position, and that's the kind of stuff that I don't like to see, and I didn't like it. So there it is. Overall, the last 2 weeks, we saw our offense put up over 1,000 yards in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, 1,000 yards. Michael Carter looks great. The running blocking looks great. The pass blocking is it's still suspect, but it's definitely better than it was the first 3 weeks of the season when we saw 15 sacks. The offensive line is gelling. They are improving weekly with some ups and downs, but it's improving. And the run blocking is starting to improve a little bit. And I think that comes from the passing game having a little bit more success. So we had Mike White come in, throw for 405. Then we had Mike White come in, throw for 95, and Josh Johnson come in and throw for 317. So another over 400-yard day against the Colts. And we saw 6 touchdowns in 2 weeks. And so we have these backup quarterbacks coming in and making the offense look as though it's adequate. This is an NFL offense here. Creative plays, nice design on a lot of the plays, nice follow-up, one play to the next. That's one of the things I'm big on, is like, for lack of a better word, the story of the game. What story are you telling? What game plan is this developing? What are you setting up in the third quarter with the first quarter calls? I like game plans like that. I pay attention to that stuff, and it's real hard to pick out a lot of the time. But in the last 2 games, I was able to, at least in my own head, kind of see it. I was able to see what was happening and what was coming, and I could sense it and feel, okay, this is when we're going to do this. And I was pretty accurate. So I started to see that Mike Lafleur knows a little bit more than the offense was looking like he knew. He looked like he was 6 feet underwater and he was about to drown. That's what he looked like to me. Now, there's a positive and a negative there. Let's start with the bad news. The bad news is that Zach Wilson seems to be the main cog that was having so much difficulty. Now, we know the offensive line was having a hard time. We know that the running game, Tevin Coleman got hurt. You had to give these guys kind of a minute to get their NFL careers going. Even Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, trying to get their legs underneath them. They're dropping passes. Corey Davis dropping passes. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But Zach Wilson has really had a hard time throughout the course of this season getting the simple stuff done, which is really all Mike White and Josh Johnson did. They have their shots, but generally speaking, all they're really doing is finding a way to get the simple, easy yards that the defense is allowing you to give. They're just finding a way to get it. You want to give me 8 yards? Then I take 8 yards. You want to give me 6 yards? Here's the 6 yards, and see what Michael Carter or Elijah Moore can do with it. You know what I mean? See what these guys can do, and that's what we mean when we say getting the ball in your playmakers' hands in space. That's what we're talking about. Mike White was able to do that. Josh Johnson was able to do that. And the offensive line was able to keep the defensive lines at bay much more in the Cincinnati game. The Colts game, they started to get in a little bit, but AVT versus Buckner was great. I mean, there was a lot of positives in there. So the bad news is that Zach Wilson, now we have this huge question mark on whether or not Zach Wilson can really do this yet. He might be the guy that does need to sit for a year. I don't know. He might be the guy that looks like complete trash his whole entire rookie year before the light bulb turns on. We don't know. He might be the guy that comes back against either Buffalo or Miami and looks sharp, as attack. All right, we don't know, but it does raise those question marks. But the way that the question was being posed before Zach Wilson went down, it was Zach Wilson and Lafleur. It was Zach Wilson doesn't look good. Lafleur doesn't look good. Elijah Moore doesn't look good. He can't get open. Nobody can get open. Michael Carter, Ty Johnson, they can't get any yards. So the offensive line sucked. So what these last 2 weeks have at least enabled us to do, and this is where we segue to the positive, is that we got to see that when they moved Mike Lafleur upstairs to the box, which 9 out of 10 Jets fans have been saying since week 2, great, you have him on the field, it's not working, put him where he's comfortable. They finally did that, and we got to see that this guy, he might not be there yet. He might not be able to outcoach other, long-term defensive coordinators yet or anything like that. But we saw this guy knows how to call a game. This guy's offense is worth something. It's worth building on. We have something here. And that is about as solid of a positive as we could have hoped at the halfway point of the season, man. This is an evaluation year, guys. Don't forget that. We're trying to see what Zach Wilson looks like. Who the hell is Robert Saleh? What does Ulbrich know? What about this new guy, Matt Cavanaugh? We have a first-time rookie quarterback coach in Rob Calabrese, right? Mike Lafleur. Who are these people? We're trying to figure out who these guys are, what their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. We're learning. In addition to that, we're starting more rookies than any other team in the league. Our first 4 picks in the draft, our heralded first 4, where 3 of them were actually first-round picks. You know what I'm saying? We have Zach Wilson, Elijah Vera-Tucker, and Elijah Moore as really widely regarded 3 first-round grades. So we got 3 first-round pick type players, quality players in this draft. Then we got Michael Carter in the 4th round, who everybody said was late 2nd round. That's where his value was. So we got 3 firsts and a second as far as their ratings on many scales and the quality of player. And we were not able to see them for a while flourish in any capacity. The past couple of weeks, we got to see them start to hit their stride a little bit, at least start to make an impact. Welcome to the NFL, so to speak. Lafleur looks good. Saleh looks a little bit more competent as a head coach. A couple challenges that he won, things like that. The Ty Johnson touchdown in Cincinnati, things like that. So we're starting to see these guys get comfortable. Michael Carter looks like a demon, and I'll give you a stat from Michael Carter. I actually want to credit where I got this. Michael Nania from JetX. He's number 2 in the entire NFL for causing missed tackles with 32. He has caused 32 missed tackles. And the article that I got it from went to say this is really one of the most important running back stats because anyone can run through a huge hole that an offensive line makes. We used to see the Dallas Cowboy offensive lines with Emmitt Smith, not to take anything from that guy, but we would see he would get his first contact or first threat of contact 8-9 yards down the field. He was guaranteed like 8 yards because of that line. 8 yards at a clip before he had to do anything. And anybody can do that, right? But Michael Carter, what he's doing, even though our offensive line play has been improving, some of the holes have really been opening up. He's causing missed tackles to get the yards that he's getting. It's not just running through the hole and getting the 5 yards that the offensive line made for you. He's causing missed tackles. So he has 32 missed tackles caused this year so far. He's number 2. Number 1 happens to be his teammate in college, Javonte Williams, and he only has 1 more. So those two guys, 33 and 32 missed tackles caused. Michael Carter is right there. He's 1 missed tackle away from leading the NFL in that all-important stat. And that's the thing. We got to see this guy really get some work. He led the team in receptions against Cincinnati, and just being able to finally see what these guys have. So our first 4 draft picks are all contributing. Zach Wilson, the number 1 out of all those draft picks, being the one that's having the most difficulty, struggling and all that. But again, he's got the most difficult job, so we'll give him his time. But now we know some things. And if that's not a positive for this season, I don't know what the hell is. I don't know what is. Now, you look at the defense. The defense has had a couple rough weeks. They did play well in Cincinnati. Don't forget, they scored 30 points on them, on our defense. We did give them 3 extra possessions with the 2 tipped picks and the Crowder fumble. One of them ran 66 yards back, and guess who? Elijah Moore and Denzel Mims ran down the entire field, chased him, got him at the 3, which enabled our defense to put up one of probably the most exciting defensive stand all year. A 4-down stand from the 3-yard line where Quinnen Williams sacked the quarterback on 4th down. I wanted to lose it. I could have ripped my TV off the wall and threw it like a Frisbee. The problem with that is every time you do that, you end up, you got to get a new TV. So I don't do that so much anymore. I used to, but that's how psyched I got when they did that. When Quinnen Williams made that sack, that's everything I like in football. But you look at the defense in that game, even though they had their difficulties, they played hard. They looked good, really up until the Atlanta Falcons game. The defense was the side of our team that was really keeping us competitive out of nowhere. Don't forget, even though I just talked about the 4 rookies that were starting on offense, we had just as many on defense. And then in addition to that, we had a whole bunch of second-year guys, undrafted free agents, more injuries. So the fact that Brandon Eccles, Bryce Hall, Michael Carter II, Javelin Guidry, Bryce Huff, and company were able to look as good as they did after losing LaMarcus Joyner, after losing Carl Lawson and Vinnie Curry and Ronald Blair and all those guys, after losing all those guys, Jared Davis, Hamza Nasruddin, we were still able to be the unit that was really keeping us in games while the offense sputtered. Now, the offense seems to be coming out of the dark and turning a quarter, and the defense seems to be regressing. I got to be real honest with you. While I'm not happy with the schemes, I think we're playing too soft. I think our zones are a little too loose, all stuff like that. I didn't like dropping the defensive linemen into coverage and all that sort of stuff, although it worked well today. I'm gonna tell you about that in a minute. I didn't like that we were doing all that, so I really do have some issues with Ulbricht and Saleh, how they're calling their D. But all that said, this collection of really scrap heap and late round picks and undrafted free agents played really well, far beyond our expectations. When we started this year, most Jets fans were assuming the Jets were going to be in a lot of shootouts because our defense wasn't going to be able to stop anybody, but our offense had enough lethal weapons that we were going to be able to keep up with a lot of teams. That's what we thought. And that is exactly the opposite of what we saw. Now, the last couple weeks, our defense has been manhandled. Now, in Indianapolis in particular, I thought that the defense looked lethargic. I talked about it in my last video. I just noticed C.J. Mosley doesn't look sharp. He's not crisp. He's not hitting. He's getting hit. He's getting juked. He had that major stiff arm where he got called for a face mask. Quinnen Williams looked slow. Sheldon Rankins, it looked slow. I rewatched the game. There's a couple plays where Sheldon Rankins could have made the tackle and just... he's like a slug. I don't know what it was, but overall, I thought our defensive performance was very lackluster. That said, these are the types of games I fully expected to see, where one week the offense looks good and the next week the defense looks good and the other side can't do anything, or what worked the week before isn't working. We're sloppy. The cornerbacks are getting chewed up and the next week they play like all pros. That's the kind of stuff that we should be seeing right now. And that's the kind of stuff that we are seeing. I really think, and what I'm trying to do, pulling out the positives, like just saying this team sucks, like that's not good enough. If you're going to gripe intelligently. Like, what are we looking at here? What are we really looking at? Does this guy really suck? Does that guy really suck? Because 2 weeks ago it was Lafleur. Now I see all these things about, putting Ulbricht's head on a spike and he should be gone by the end of the Buffalo game. Dude, it's like, let's really pay attention to what we're looking at, because there are so many positives. Elijah Moore, Michael Carter, AVT, Michael Carter II. There's so many, right? Even when they have rough games, which they're rookies and second-year players, we're gonna see that. So the defense played beyond our expectations for the first chunk of the season, and now the offense is starting to pick up steam. Now, should we expect 1,000 more yards in 2 more? No, probably not. I'm going to tell you that right now. And it's more than likely going to dip again. Okay, it's like watching crypto. It's going to dip and it's going to spike. You got to look at the candles and know what you're looking at. So when they dip again, does Lafleur suck again? Like that's the stuff. If Zach Wilson comes in and throws for 300 yards, it doesn't mean he's our franchise quarterback. If he comes in and throws for $115, it doesn't mean he sucks. It just means that's where we are in the progression. Now, as far as the defense goes, and I'm just going to say this because I'm in conversations with thousands of you guys. Most of us were thinking, this particular draft coming up, we need to go defense. Like last year, the top 4 picks were used on offense, even though we compensated, like really overcompensated on the second half of the draft and pulled in all defense. It's much less likely to hit back there than you are up here. The fact that we're getting the play that we are from those guys is really promising. It's encouraging. But the truth is that we focused on offense this draft. The first 4 picks, 2 firsts, a second, and a fourth, were all on offense. So I think this next draft, we're looking for our big pass rusher, plus maybe getting Carl Lawson back. We're looking for another cornerback, in addition to the tight end and some other pieces, obviously offensive line, which I think we'll draft every year. But the truth is, man, is a lot of us knew we're going to need an edge rusher. We're going to need another cornerback. Like, that's the way it's going. We got to let this develop because we are seeing it. We totally are seeing it while we're losing. Like, I don't know. I guess people really did think we were going to be a 12-win team, which is, it's tough. It's tough if you think it's a 12-win team. But all right, so now we got Buffalo this week. We'll have a mini bye, right? Isn't that what they called it? A mini bye. So we got a couple extra days to plan for Buffalo. But we got really bad news today. I'm not sure if you've figured this out, but it's bad news. The fact that the Jaguars beat the damn Bills today is bad news, man. They stole our trap. We were going to be the trap game, and that's how we're going to win this year, man. Maybe we beat the Jags, or maybe we beat the Texans, maybe the Eagles, I don't know. But generally speaking, if we win this year, it's going to be some trapping going on. There's going to be a little bit of that involved in every game that we play. I believe it did happen a little bit with the Titans, and definitely happened with the Bengals, who seem to be falling off a cliff. Maybe we set their whole season back. I don't know. But I think that the fact that the Jaguars really held the Buffalo Bills to nothing. They weren't able to do anything today. 9-6. They stole our trap game, and Buffalo's going to come in very similar to how the Colts came in. The Colts came in furious. The Colts came in realizing, hey, man, we are better than this. We lost 2 games super close that we had wrapped up. We ended up losing them, and they were not going to do that. They came into our game focused, highly focused. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to do the same thing, and I fear what we're going to see. Because today, they've had a big old hard-on for Josh Allen versus Josh Allen all week, right? I saw it all over the place. Josh Allen versus Josh Allen. Well, Josh Allen versus Josh Allen ended up being super crazy exciting. Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen twice. He got a forced fumble from super clutch Allen. He's still got the fumbleitis going on, man. That guy's risky. But anyway, Josh Allen sacked Josh Allen twice with a forced fumble. And when they pulled him back into coverage, which we failed at with JFM and Bryce Huff, when they pulled Josh Allen back in coverage, they got pressure on him anyway, and he threw it, and Josh Allen picked off Josh Allen. So they won. They got all pumped up. They were psyched for the game. Buffalo thought they were going to walk right through them, and Trevor Lawrence and company get the win. Josh Allen and company get the win. And they're going to be playing us hard, man. So here's the thing. Do you think that our offense is going to be able to keep this up with these teams? Maybe, maybe not. All I'm really looking for is progress. All I'm looking for is, like, for example, this week, I'd like to see Denzel Mims start catching with his hands again. It's heartbreaking. I don't know what the hell's happening. He's not known as a body catcher. All of a sudden, all 3 of those drops, including the touchdown drop in the Cincinnati game, all of them went to his body. So I don't know what that is. I don't know what they're doing with him. They're teaching him new positions, all kinds of stuff. I don't know. But that's another thing. It doesn't mean he sucks. It just means he had a rough game. Don't forget, Corey Davis had how many drop passes? Jamar Chase dropped a touchdown. It happens. It's not what we want, but it happens. So maybe getting an opportunity to see Denzel Mims develop a little bit. Maybe seeing LaMichael Pirine come in and start to see what he can do in the offense. Maybe some guys like Jeff Smith, see Elijah Moore continue to get hot and be able to juke guys and become a Tyreek Hill type of excitement for us. This is the stuff that we want to see. We want to still see our young guys on the defense be able to stay in there and play. Brandon Echols, who probably will need to be upgraded, but he looks like a good reserve guy, a good dime package corner, one of those types. But you could stand to upgrade him with a nice second round cornerback, somebody like that. And we can have that competition. But it's still good to see these guys getting their experience on the team. We're able to see Jabari Zuniga. We're able to see Jared Davis on the field again with C.J. Mosley. Quincy Williams is still an animal. They put him on special teams. He said, good, I'll kill everybody over here. That guy's a find, man. And I wish they would find a way to keep all 3 of them on the field together because we need it. We need it. So, anywho, going into Buffalo, I think that we're going to be seeing, we're going to be seeing another rough game. But that's why. Is it because we suck? Or is it because they're better? There's a difference. It's like the Colts game. You do realize that's one of the best offensive lines in the entire league. Their defensive line is good too. So their offensive line is literally one of the best offensive lines in the entire NFL. And our defensive line had problems with them. The run game and everything, it's just their run game is super strong. And guess what we had trouble with? Their run game. Now, it is what it is, and I'm not happy about it. But again, if you look at this realistically, it's to be expected. So I can see us having some issues with Buffalo. Here's what we want to see. We want to see the offensive line be able to protect the quarterback more than they don't. We want to see the offensive line break open some holes for the running backs. We want to see the playmakers be able to get the ball with some space around them so they can have the opportunity to make plays. We want to see our receivers catch the ball. We want to see our quarterback be able to get him the ball. We want to see our defense progress. We want to see them be able to cover more than they're not. We want to see them be able to stop the run more than they don't. We want to see those things. But ultimately, this is about progress. I want to see our coaching schemes a little bit more appropriate to the game we're playing. I think that we're still struggling in that area. So it's going to be tough. My prediction is Mike White is going to start. Everybody's talking about it. It started with the first week with Zach Wilson versus Mike White, a big quarterback controversy. Zach Wilson's not healthy. They said it was probably going to be 4 weeks. So it's not 4 weeks yet. I don't know why we're talking about this. I wouldn't start Zach, but look, the truth is that you have a quarterback that can play. You have a quarterback that can play. So just play him until Zach is healthy. When Zach's healthy, Zach comes back in. Unless Mike White throws for another 400 yards or something and the team's looking crazy, we beat Buffalo, or okay, then you have some decisions to make. Otherwise, Mike White is our backup quarterback. Josh Johnson is his backup quarterback. And that's the way that it's going to be. When Zach comes back, Zach's our second overall pick, and that's the basket we're putting our eggs in. So this is, I don't see it any other way, and that's the way it should be. If Mike White lights it up, then you got some choices to make, and maybe you keep Zach out on a weekly basis. I don't know, but we'll see. Now, the problem is Flacco. What do we do with this guy? Do we make him inactive? Do we trade a 6th-round pick for him in panic mode, and then we just keep him inactive? I don't know. What do? I'd hate to see 3 quarterbacks active and then a guy like Denzel Mims not active, or LaMichael Pirine, or whoever it might be. I'd rather see the playmakers play. We've been using a lot of 11 personnel, so that puts we've even been using some 4 wide receiver sets. So hey, man. Empty backfield type of stuff. So I'd rather have my toys. That's what I'd rather have. And you gotta get Denzel Mims back on his horse. You cannot allow that to let him sit down for 3 weeks. And then when he does come back in, it's going to be this whole big thing in his head. You can't do that. That's a mismanagement of this situation. He's a damn good player. Tell him to catch with his hands and let's go. We'll get you the ball. You're fine. So anyway, I think that's what we're going to talk. That's what we're going to see. But it's just the Flacco thing. Now, I understand, looking back at everything, I get it. They just wanted to make sure, right? And we talked about all the potential variables and this and that. I think the Mike White game threw everything up in the air. He was like, hey, this worked. You know what I mean? Before that, it didn't look so good. But it did. Now, let me ask you a question. Would you rather have Flacco and not need him, or need him and not have him? Fair enough. It's the way I look at things. I'd rather have him and not need him than need him and not have him. Like, what if, Mike White completely crapped the bed and Josh Johnson gets hurt and, we don't have anybody and we're down to Crowder and we got to go sign some kid off the street. You know what I'm saying? Just bring the guy in. All the bases are covered, and then best case scenario happened and Mike White went and played well, and then Josh Johnson went and played well. Good. Great. Fantastic. Maybe you put Josh Johnson back on the practice squad. I don't know. You know what I mean? I think he'll get poached now, though. Now somebody might want him. He looked pretty damn good. And we almost had 37 points. We were going to win that game. You know that, right? If we got that touchdown, you guys know about momentum. I know. If we got that touchdown, which we drove right down, everybody said all of our points are in prevent. Dude, let me tell you, the Colts did not want to be in that situation. They were trying to stop us. They did not. They just lost another game like that. Not exactly the same, but they just lost a game like that. Last minute kind of a thing. Tough loss. They did not want to be giving us a chance to get back in that game, and we were in it. We had a minute and a half left. If we scored that touchdown, we were going to onside kick it. That's the exact type of time that an onside kick works. And let me tell you, if the onside kick worked, we were winning. I'm telling you. Now, we'll never know, but I'm convinced. Did I convince you? Maybe I did. But I'm just telling you, I've been watching football a long time. I know how the emotional momentum swings go. I watch it all the time. It's usually against us, right? We know all of a sudden we can't stop anything. The punts are bouncing the right way. All of a sudden, all the flags, everything goes against you. That game, things were going for us. And we marched down the field. We put up 30 points. We were, on the goal line, essentially. And we were about to score again. And it didn't happen. But if it did, we were winning. I'm telling you, we were getting the onside kick. So anyway, I see a lot of positives. I see a lot of things turning around. And that's good. I'm not happy with, of course, I want to win. I want to win now. I get it. At the same time, we knew what this was. We knew what this year is, and we're getting to actually see it. 3 weeks ago, around Atlanta, around New England game, I was upset because we weren't even seeing that. If you would have told me in the New England game, hey, don't worry, the Jets offense is going to have 1,000 yards of offense, 6 touchdowns. You're not going to win in everything. You'll win one, you'll lose one, but you're going to look really good. I would have been happy with that. You wouldn't have been happy with that? I would have. That's all I want to see this year. I want to win too. I do. But anyway, that's about going to wrap it up. I want to remind you as we head into the Christmas season, I have a link right on the top of my description, sportsmemorabilia.com. Click on that link. It takes you right to the Jets page. If you spend more than $50, you get free shipping. It's an awesome page, man. And not only is that available for Jet stuff, it's obviously for every team and every sport and all that, but the link I have right there takes you right to the Jets page. If you buy anything on there, it helps the channel, and I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, you can support me on Patreon as well. That link is right below the sports memorabilia link, and that, again, the way we look at that is value for value. If I add value to your life, if it's $5 a month, $1 million a month, or anything in between, I appreciate you doing that, and that's how this stays listener-supported content. That's how it goes. So anyway, I appreciate you guys being here. I feel good about the Buffalo game. Not so good that I think we're going to win, but I feel good. I want to see Mike White to Elijah Moore and everybody else, and then I want to see Zach Wilson come back. I want to see it. I'm psyched. I want to see what Lafleur does. I want to see what Saleh does. I want to see what Ulbrich does. I want to see how John Beck's impact settles in on the quarterback room. Let's see, man. We got stuff. We're working on it. We're like scientists. You gotta fail first. You gotta. Remember, I'll leave you with this. Thomas Edison, something like that. I don't even think it's really him, but anyway, they asked him, you've already failed 300 times on making a light bulb. When are you going to give up? He said, I haven't failed 300 times. I know 300 ways it won't work. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. That's where we are, Jets fans. Anyway, I thank you for being here. Don't forget about the contest. All you got to do is subscribe here and subscribe to Full-Time Coaster Tour, and you are in the contest. Win yourself a t-shirt. Win yourself a Manscaped Ultra Smooth Pack. I greatly appreciate it. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you're psyched about. What are some of your positives? Let's get into it, man. Let's talk about this season like the constructive animals that we are. All that said, have a great week and go Jets.